show you a practical example. So this is an XML. This is how an XML file will look like. So I've tried to include most things that I can. So this is the initial declaration, as I said, where you place the XML version, encoding, etc. The file will work even without placing this, but it is just advised. Now my root element is head, and I've placed name, age, and batch under it. Under batch element, I've placed branch name and year. So you might wonder, like in HTML, when you place these elements in your file, when you open it, you can only see the data inside. But I'll show the XML file that appears in this. So this is how an XML file will look like on your browser. Basically, it has different elements and it has some arrows, or it can be displayed as dashes in some browsers, where you can close and open these tags. So when you close, you see that the whole file is contained under these elements, which is head. Now you can open the root element and you can see there's another element which you can open and close. So basically, this is like a tree-like structure. Also, these are just comments. I've just put them for example's sake. These are all the codes that you can use. This is a break element. It is same in HTML also. It's used to give a new line. And this line I've put in order to show that this is invalid format, because when you open a tag and when you close a tag, it must be in the same order. As in, HI should be closed and I should be closed inside this. So this is invalid. Now what happens if you place an invalid element inside? For example, I'm placing something like hello with no closing tag at the end. Now, if I refresh it in browser, you can see this page contains the following errors and extra content at the end of the document. So there'll be some kind of errors. Some browsers show it just red in color, which represents wrong text, and some show it as error. So I'll undo it. Okay, so this is how you store data in XML files. Now coming to more complex XML files. So I'll show one more. Yeah, this is a more complex version of the XML file, where we have a breakfast menu defined in our XML file, and there is different kinds of food placed inside the breakfast menu. And each food has name, price, description, calories, etc. So yeah, so this is an example. And item ID is placed in an attribute because it's just used for retrieving. So this ID is given to each name because these names are different. Now we use various different languages in order to retrieve and store data in XML files. I'm going to show one example using Python, because that is one of the easy ways where you can manipulate the XML files. So just one second. Yeah, so this. So there's a library called element tree, which is used in order to get the XML, like parse and store back the XML files. So first what I do is, in my Python file, I import that library as ET. ET is the short form that we'll be using for the library. So how you use the element tree library is, you define a variable to be the tree. So I'm calling it tree itself, and then you parse that particular file name. So here my file is xml demo.xml. So that is the file that contains this file. First, you get the tree. So this tree is basically one element. So as you know, a tree has many nodes. So element tree represents the XML file in terms of a tree having multiple nodes, and each element is represented as a node. So this tree is basically the root of the XML demo file. That is why we're using et.parse. And then I'm getting the root out of that tree and I'm printing it. So I'll run it and show it how. Yeah, I've already run it once. So when I run Python get data, I'm getting one element, head, at some value. So this represents one node of that tree. Because I'm printing root here, so it's printing that value. Now, what happens if I want to get the values inside this root? So that form, I can traverse it by a for loop. So for lm in root, I'm going to print element.text. So this element.text is giving me values that are inside this element, which is Salonian 20. So here you can see, these are the tags name and age, But if you do that element dot text, you get what is placed inside it. So you get Saloni and 20. Now, what you will want to traverse the nodes that are inside the tree too, like which are below the root and which are not text. So for that, again, you can have a for loop where there's a function called dot find all, where you uh, place the path to the root that you want to the element that you want to access. So here I've used batch. So what I'm doing is I'm finding all elements that are under the root but that branch off from batch, and then I'm printing that item. So these are the items that I'm getting, which is branch name and branch year. If I do dot text, then I will get what is inside branch name and branch year. But for now, I'm only getting all elements that are inside batch. Similarly, there's another way. This root.findAll with this address will give me an array of elements, which represents an array of different nodes of the tree. And I can access it just like how I access a normal array, which is by indexing it. So I've indexed it as 0, and I will still get the first element. So as you can see, I'm getting only branch name under weight 2. So this is method 2 of getting different elements under the root. Uh, okay, so now in order to modify the files in Python, there is no direct way to modify it. But what we do is we retrieve the tree using element tree, we modify it in Python and then store it back. So if you want to modify the same file, you can write the tree inside the same file, or else you can write it in a different file. So there's a function called sub element. There's a function called set. There's a attribute called dot text. So dot text is used to manipulate what is inside. So first I'll start with dot text. So section dot text equal to a. That means the section elements value will become a. So similarly with favorite color dot text becomes a, and so on. So 1 second, I'll show it. Yeah, this is a better way to modify the file, which is I'm taking the input.xml, which is my breakfast menu, and I'm getting the root out of the tree. Now I'm traversing through the prices in the root. So you can see here. So I'll get all the price tags, which is 5.95, 7.95, 8.95, and so on. I'm getting the prices and I'm adding them to 10 with 10. So this is how you're manipulating data out of your XML file, which is traversing through them and then manipulating them with inbuilt attributes, which is like dot text. Then dot set refers to setting some attribute. So it'll set new prices attribute as yes, and so on. So I'll start with this. Yeah. So continuing this, 1 second. Yeah. So dot sub element is used to create the sub element. So here I'm creating a sub element called favorite color, and then I'm writing it back to an XML file called simpl.xml. So let me run it once. Yeah, so here's my new XML file, and here you can see I have a section A. I have a favorite color black added to the previous file. That is because I've created new 2 elements. I'm adding it to the file and I'm writing it, and I'm writing the previous root also. So this is actually not a valid XML file, but this is just to show how to add data. So basically, because this has 2 roots, it does not count as valid. So you only write 1 root. So for example, I'll change this. I'll not write the root, and I'll run the file again. Yeah, now it has only 1 tag. So this is the root tag itself, and it has only 1 tag with value A and attribute erudite. So this is how we manipulate files. So we have read the files from XML and we have modified the file. Similarly, we can delete the file also if we want using the same techniques, like using elementary itself. Yeah, that's